Ndondomeko ya masomphenya atsopano a dziko lino yotchedwa Malawi 2063 idzakhazikitsidwa lachiwiri pa 19 January 2021 pamwambo waukulu omwe udzachitikire ku Bingu International Convention Center BICC mu mzinda wa Lilongwe. Mtsogoleri wa dziko lino Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera ndiwo adzatsogolere mwambowu. National Planning Commission, Malawi odzidalira ndi otukuka pachuma mokomera aliyense.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
Welcome to the news on Zodiac with me, Sibongile Ziambo. The headlines. 16 students test positive to COVID-19 at Lilongwe Girls Secondary School. Government releases 5 billion kwacha in legal fees to lawyers for President Chakwera and his vice Saulos Chidima for the elections case. ADMAC still mum on dates for opening of markets 2 months after promising to start buying and selling produce. And in sports, football analysts appeal for a review of COVID-19 measures being enforced now considering surge of cases. Now the news in detail. Zodiac can confirm that COVID-19 has hit Lilongwe Girls Secondary School. Health officials have conducted sample testing on 17 students and 16 are positive. School management and health officials from Lilongwe DHO say all positive students have been sent home. Anxious parents whose wards are at the school have been denied access to collect their wards. The school says the facility will be disinfected. This comes amid calls for government to close down schools in the wake of the new surge in COVID-19 cases. Meanwhile, the Civil Society Education Coalition has called upon government to tread carefully on calls by some quarters to close down schools as a mitigation measure against further spread of COVID-19. A statement from the organization stresses that a decision to close down schools must be made only on condition of evidence of potential risk of maintaining schools. The statement reminds the state that much as it has a duty to protect life, it also has a responsibility to protect all other rights, such as right to education. Masozi Kasambara has a story.
Malawi is under a state of national disaster. The country is currently mourning its 2 cabinet ministers and scores of other citizens who succumbed to the COVID-19 pandemic. The second wave of the pandemic is claiming lives and spreading at an alarming rate. Head of State Dr. Lazarus Chakwera, in his recent address to the nation, made a number of directives in a quest to mitigate further spread and impact of the pandemic. The directives include instructing the Parliamentary Committee on Defense and Security to make recommendations on a possibility that it declares a state of emergency. Depending on the recommendations of the committee, the head of state could impose lockdowns and curfews. The scenario is attracting a lot of mixed reactions from a cross-section of the citizenry. Some people feel that closure of schools and imposition of lockdowns would significantly contain the pandemic. Joining the fray is the Civil Society Education Coalition, which reminds government not to be selective when protecting people's rights. The statement from the organization, seen by Zodiac, says should a need to close down schools arise, such must be a last resort after all means to safeguard school environment fail. The abrupt closure of schools, as some quarters are proposing, without being pragmatic, will be disastrous and have dire consequences that will be irrecoverable for decades to come, concludes the statement, which has been jointly signed by the organization's executive director Benedicto Kondowe and its board chairperson Jennifer Mkandawire. For Zodiac, Masoz Kasambala reporting.
Government has released about 5 billion kwacha in legal fees to lawyers for President Lazarus Chakwera and his vice Saulos Chilima, who were petitioners in the historic presidential elections case. Treasury spokesperson Williams Banda has confirmed to Zodiac that they have paid the full amount as determined by the courts. Treasury has made the payment on behalf of MEC, which lost the case. Alex Banda reports.
After a long battle in court, lawyers for the first and second petitioners, Vice President Saulos Chilima and President Lazarus Chakwera, in the disputed 2019 presidential elections case, are now home smiling. This is because government has now paid them their dues on behalf of the Malawi Electoral Commission, MEC. Williams Banda, who is Treasury spokesperson, has confirmed this to Zodiac.
We paid what was determined and claimed by the lawyers. We may wish to note that there were claims that emanated from the High Court and as well as claims for the Supreme Court. The claims were coming from the lawyers. So in terms of getting the actual figure, maybe we may need more time. But as what was claimed, that's what have been paid.
After the review of the legal cost, government has paid out about 5 billion kwacha in legal fees for the lawyers' appearance in the Constitutional Court and Supreme Court of Appeal. From the Constitutional Court bill, lawyers for President Lazarus Chakwera will get 2.1 billion kwacha, while those for Dr. Saulos Chilima will get 1.9 billion kwacha. The other amount is for their appearance in the Supreme Court of Appeal. Both legal teams declined to comment on the matter, saying they have received a lot of ridicule and torture from the public despite their national service. Their representation saw the landmark ruling by the Constitutional Court on 3rd February 2020, which led to the fresh presidential elections that ousted the DPP-led government of former President Peter Mutharika for the grand coalition of 9 political parties led by President Lazarus Chakwera. For Zodiac, this is Alex Banda.
The Agriculture Development and Marketing Corporation ADMAC is still mum on the opening of its markets across the country for the purchase and selling of farm produce. This is contrary to an early announcement by the corporation in November last year that markets will be open before the end of that month. ADMAC spokesperson Agnes Chikoko told Zodiac discussions are still underway to set up new prices for the commodities, hence the delay, but was non-committal on the exact opening of dates. Uson Henry filed this report.
Last year, government announced that it would open its markets by end of November 2020. But 2 months down the line, the markets are yet to be open for business. The development, according to a resident of Mchinji, Eletina Mataya, is forcing locals to buy maize from vendors at higher prices, ranging from 120 kwacha to 180 kwacha per kilogram.
We are worried because government is not saying anything on when ADMAC depots will be opened. Imagine we are purchasing maize from vendors at high prices. This is greatly affecting us. We ask government to do something on this.
ADMAC spokesperson Agnes Chikoko has attributed the delay due to ongoing discussions between the produce marketer and other stakeholders on new pricing. But Chikoko refused to be drawn on when exactly the markets will be opened.
Plans are still there to reopen the markets for selling, but as you are aware that ADMAC as an organization, we do not see prices for produce, but farm gate price and selling prices. So what is happening right now is we are in consultation with other stakeholders that are involved in the formation of pricing, and very soon will be opening the markets for sale.
In October last year, Minister of Finance authorized ADMAC to borrow 22 billion kwacha from commercial banks to buy farm produce from farmers.
The Malawi Human Rights Commission has commenced investigations into the death of a Malawian Polytechnic student, Blessings Nyondo, who was allegedly shot by police and some security officers on December 31 last year. MHRC Executive Secretary Habiba Osman says the commission wants justice to prevail in the case following conflicting reports on the officer who shot Nyondo from police and private security guards. The Polytechnic student died Friday, January 8, at Queen Elizabeth Central Hospital, where he was receiving treatment. The Department of Environmental Affairs has impounded 9 machines from a Chinese-owned factory that was producing banned-thin plastics in Lilongwe. The company is called Hidayo Plastics Limited. Senior Environmental Officer for the Ministry, Chifundo Chinyama, say this is in line with the November 2020 court ruling that the machines be impounded for the illegal production. This report filed by Winston Kaimira.
In November last year, a magistrate's court in Lilongwe ordered the shutdown of a plastic manufacturing plant belonging to Qingdao Plastic Limited in a case of illegal production of thin plastics. The court also ordered that 9 machines of the company be forfeited. The Department of Environmental Affairs has now impounded the machines, which will later be auctioned. Senior Environment Officer Chifundo Nyama says the department will also engage the Malawi Revenue Authority to establish if the equipment has proper documentation.
These machines are being dismantled as part of the execution of the judgment of the case that the state took against this company, who are found to be violating the plastics regulations, in particular manufacturing and distributing thin plastics which are less than 60 microns. Once we had conducted an inspection, we found them that they were not complying. We took the matter to the police, who instituted criminal proceedings. And once the criminal proceedings were concluded by the court, they released a judgment, and part of the judgment was to confiscate the machines that were responsible for the violation.
Meanwhile, the department says a ban on production of thin plastics does not apply to some companies who are challenging the restriction in court. This is Winston Kaimira for Zodiac in Lilongwe.
You're watching news on Zodiac. We'll be right back shortly. Stand by.
Precious things have a secret formula. While John is busy trying to impress, James discovered Tangu's secret. Tangu uses Purity sanitary products from Purity body wash, Purity hands wash, Purity body lotion to Purity dishwash. After a week of using Purity sanitary products, James won the heart of Tangu. Use Purity sanitary products.
Welcome.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
Bungwe la National Planning Commission NPC lomwe linapatsidwa mphamvu ndi nyumba ya malamulo zotsogolera ntchito yopanga mapulani achitukuko a dziko lino oyang'anira patali, ndilokondwa kudziwitsa Malawi ndi ena onse kuti ndondomeko ya masomphenya atsopano a dziko lino yotchedwa Malawi 2063 idzakhazikitsidwa lachiwiri pa 19 January 2021 pamwambo waukulu omwe udzachitikire ku Bingu International Convention Center BICC mu mzinda wa Lilongwe. Mtsogoleri wa dziko lino Dr. Lazarus McCarthy Chakwera ndiwo adzatsogolere mwambowu. National Planning Commission, Malawi odzidalira ndi otukuka pachuma mokomera aliyense.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
Welcome back in this edition of news. You're with me, Sibongi Diziambo. A look at the headlines. 16 students test positive to COVID-19 at Lilongwe Girls Secondary School. Government releases 5 billion kwacha in legal fees to lawyers for President Chakwera and his vice Salus Chilima for the elections case. ADMAC still mum on dates for reopening of markets 2 months after promising to start buying and selling produce. In sports, football analysts appeal for a review of COVID-19 measures being enforced now, considering surge of the cases. Thank you for joining me. And moving on, the Ministry of Agriculture says over 700,000 beneficiaries of the Affordable Input Program are yet to purchase inputs due to inaccessibility of their areas. Spokesperson in the ministry, Gresham Lungu, told us yesterday they are planning to engage the Malawi Defence Force to take over distribution to hard-reaching areas in the country. But Zodiac has established some beneficiaries are still struggling to purchase the inputs because inputs are not in stock. Fanani Nyurenda reports.
According to the Ministry of Agriculture, Environment and Natural Resources, over 700,000 AIP beneficiaries are yet to purchase the farm inputs. Ministry spokesperson Grecian Lungu said this is mainly due to logistical challenges emanating from impassable roads as a result of heavy rains. Lungu said currently they want to engage the Malawi Defense Force in the distribution of the inputs, mainly in hard-to-reach areas.
There are some challenges the people are facing in that. This is because there are some areas which are impassable. They have got impassable roads, and what we are trying to do as a ministry is to engage the MTF to make sure that they transport these farm inputs to these hard-to-reach areas. And we understand that this will be done very soon because people there need the fertilizers now, and we will try our best to make sure that they are getting the supplies as soon as they are supposed to get them.
Meanwhile, some of the beneficiaries, like in Mzimbahura constituency, are yet to purchase the inputs and are still stripping at selling points. They have called for urgent action, saying the maize they planted needs fertilizer application. So far, according to the ministry, as close of business on Monday, over 3 million people had purchased the inputs, representing 83%. For Zodiac, I am Vanani Renda.
Zomba District Forestry Office has decried what it calls heavy encroachment in Malosa Forest Reserve, which is resulting in two siltation in Malosa River. District Forestry Officer Amon Kabango told Zodiac yesterday people are farming within the reserve, which leads to low water levels in the river. The District Forestry Office has since launched a tree planting program in Zomba, Malosa Extension Planning Area, where 1,000 tree seedlings have been planted. Alfred Guta reports.
Zomba District Forest Officer Amon Kabango has described the situation as worrisome. Kabango fears for the West, urging people to stop depleting the district's forest reserve.
Problem of deforestation is really very serious in Zomba. As you can see around, there's a lot of encroachment. We are trying to engage with the local communities and the traditional leaders and all leadership within the constituency to make sure we all participate in environmental conservation. But as you know, it's a serious problem because it's emanating from the challenges of land for farming. So people that are resorting into the protected areas like the forest reserves for farming. The impacts you can already see here, there's siltation on the river which is just next to us. It's a river which provides water, the whole of this Zomba Malosa, and even into the Zomba town itself. So we can see the levels of the river, they are dwindling, and if this issue is just like this, it's not controlled, obviously then we're going to run out of water in this constituency.
On Tuesday, Zomba District Forest Office launched a tree planting program in Zomba Malosa constituency, where 1,000 tree seedlings were planted. Kabango believes this will make a difference in restoring the depleted forests. Grace Kolepeta is a member of parliament for the area.
To the people who are encroaching, we are going to put bylaws that will not entertain them to do that.
The Zomba District Forest Office targets to plant 2.5 million trees in this year's tree planting season, which runs from December to April. For Zodiac, this is Alfred Guta reporting.
And now to sports news. Football analysts have appealed for a review on COVID-19 measures being employed to contain the pandemic in football circles, saying authorities need to do more if games are to continue in spite of the pandemic. The analysts George Chiusiwa and George Kaudzamasina are of the view that though games are being played behind doors, authorities also have to revisit their strategies and seal loopholes that could lead to the suspension of the games. President Lazarus Chakwera yesterday declared a state of the national disaster and said stakeholders will instantly revise the restrictions and come up with more enforcement to quell the situation, Sambanda reports.
In his emotional address that followed the death of his two cabinet ministers, Sidik Mia and Linkson Belekanyama, who succumbed to the rampaging COVID-19, President Lazarus Chakwera said the nation has to adopt an improved holistic approach to fighting the pandemic. The president's declaration means all sectors will now be at the mercy of stakeholders who have been given the task of reviewing the situation, and football is not exceptional despite a ban on spectators. In their inputs, George Chiusiwa and George Kaudzamasina says football could be suspended if authorities relax in enforcing the preventive protocols.
the declaration by the Republican president that we are now in a state of national disaster surely means it's also important that the football authorities should be very, very careful as the government is revising the measures. We won't be surprised to hear that football activities have been suspended again.
There might be a likelihood that sports might be suspended, taking into account, because at the end of the game, the same players will go back to the community. We are not sure what the people in the community are doing, but also at the same time, it is becoming riskier and riskier.
Government, through the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19, allowed the resumption of football with a limitation of only 100 people into a stadium being the key condition. Super League of Malawi are enforcing a screening of players before matches, and anyone eligible to attend a particular match is being forced to put on a mask as well as hand sanitizing.
That's about what we had time for in this edition of news. And before we go, a look at the headlines. 16 students test positive to COVID-19 at Lilongwe Girls Secondary School. Government releases 5 billion kwacha in legal fees to lawyers for President Chakwerandi's vice Salos Chirima for the elections case. ADMAC still mum on dates for opening of markets 2 months after promising to start buying and selling the produce. And finally, in sports news, football analysts appeal for a review of COVID-19 measures being enforced now considering the surge of the cases. Log on to our website, zodiacmalai.com, for more on these and other stories. This is Sibongile Ziambo. Bye for now. Remember to watch your distance, wear your mask and wash your hands with soap frequently to help contain the spread of COVID-19. Bye for now.
National Planning Commission, spearheading wealth creation for all.
Bunge la National Planning Commission, NPC,